Hello and welcome back to Exothermic Plays Games. I'm Exothermic and the date today is Friday, April 5th, 2024. That means it's the 96th day of ranking my favorite video games through each day of the year. Coming in at number 271 is Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. Crisis Core is a prequel to Final Fantasy VII, and it was originally released on the PlayStation Portable. The recording you'll see throughout this video, however, is the remake, which was released in 2022. It's officially part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project, and in addition to updated graphics, has some minor adjustments to the combat system to make it feel like a blend of the original PSP combat and the Final Fantasy VII Remake combat. I mostly mention all of this to say that this ranking is based on the original release and not the remake, which I found has some smoother gameplay and much needed quality of life improvements, which would have given a higher ranking. Now, onto the game. Crisis Core's story serves to flesh out the events leading up to Final Fantasy VII. Some of those events, such as the burning of Nibelheim and sequences with Cloud and Zack that were originally shown in flashbacks, now get fully fleshed out, and we learn a lot about Sephiroth's descent into madness, as well as the origins of the Genova project and experiments leading up to it. The game follows Zack, an up-and-coming member of Soldier, the elite task force for the Shinra Company. If you're unfamiliar with anything Final Fantasy VII, the game largely takes place in and around Midgar, a gigantic city pseudo-run by the Shinra Electric Power Company, who has found ways to extract life force from the planet in order to produce massive amounts of energy. Some might call that short-sighted, others might just call it good living. Zack is tagging along with his mentor, Angeal, who is one of the top-ranking members of Soldier, but when Angeal goes missing on an important mission, Zack and Sephiroth are left trying to put together the pieces. It turns out that all of Soldier had genetic experiments done to them, and Angeal and his childhood friend Genesis have abandoned the company in part because of the effects it's had on them. The other tricky part is that the two of them were Sephiroth's only friends. At this point in the story, Sephiroth isn't the murderous madman he is in the original game, and is instead a secluded, pensive person that's worshipped by the public as a hero. Along the way, we have chance encounters with other characters that go on to be major parts of the Final Fantasy VII cast, such as running into a very young version of Yuffie. She shows up a few times throughout, but the first time is while we're invading her country in order to mine the planet's life force from there. We're the good guys, right? But most importantly, in addition to Sephiroth, we meet Aerith Gainsborough in much the same way Cloud does in 7. Zack and Aerith become fast friends, and he'll go on to spend a lot of time worrying about her and protecting her. On a later mission, Zack meets Cloud Strife, the main character of Final Fantasy VII, and as they work together, Zack becomes a sort of mentor to Cloud, inspiring him to believe he can do more than just be a military infantryman. Without spoiling everything along the way, one of the cooler things the game does for the plot as a prequel is the final scene leads directly into the opening sequences for Final Fantasy VII. You could even finish this and then immediately boot up 7 for a seamless transition. So the story's cool. What about the gameplay? There's no party play in this game, and you're Zack the whole way through. Combat is done largely via random encounters within your environment and an action combat system. You make regular attacks with your sword, but also have 2 additional resources to work with. You can spend MP on casting spells and AP to do other special abilities. You gain these spells and abilities by equipping Materia. Materia is basically a compressed form of the world energy that Shinra's been mining, and they can do some pretty potent stuff. In addition to being able to customize your materia loadout, you can also combine and craft the materia you find in order to discover new and more powerful abilities. In the PSP release, you had a scrollable menu on the bottom right that you cycled through with the shoulder buttons and could select spells, abilities, and items there. That still exists in the remake, but it's just for items. There's a more comfortable quick action system that's enabled by the additional shoulder triggers on modern controllers, and you'll use that for your spells and abilities. The other major part of the combat system is the digital mind wave. It's that slot machine looking thing in the top left. Not only does it look like a slot machine, it just kind of is one. It continuously runs during combat, and when all of the numbers match, you'll get a bonus. That could be cost reductions on spells and abilities, could be increased damage, defense, all sorts of stuff. If the images match, you'll gain access to a limit break based on the image. Over time, you'll also access summons in the game, and they are added to your DMW, functioning as another limit break you can do. Some of those summons are gained through story progress, but a lot of the bonus things you can get are from doing missions as Soldier. From save points, you can access the mission menu and do a huge amount of side missions, many with their own little stories. There's a lot to do in this game, and it's kind of amazing how much they were able to pull off on the PlayStation Portable. That being said, it's not without its complaints. Other than elemental weaknesses that some enemies have, and occasional learning the dodging timing for a new attack or boss, the combat is mind-numbingly repetitive, and level design leaves a lot to be desired. People describe some games as hallway simulators, and this one isn't even a simulator. You spend a lot of time in actual hallways. While yes, Final Fantasy VII did have a lot of the same issue while in Midgar, once you got out there and into the rest of the world, it's wide open with tons of exploration. Not so in Crisis Core. The reason they were able to make it all fit on the disc is you never actually travel anywhere. You accept the mission, say you're ready to head out, there's a loading screen, and you're there. It fully takes me out of any immersion I would have had, and in my opinion greatly cheapens the experience and feeling of adventure. That being said, it's still a great prequel story-wise, and while some aspects are tired and repetitive, they were more serviceable in the context of a handheld title. Plus, anything with Nobuo Uematsu is exciting. Join me tomorrow as I talk about the 270th game on my list, where I make friends with a zombie medic.